recording, bro.
There we go. As per normal, you give me the heads up. Thank you so much, man. Well, everybody, I'd like to just welcome everybody back to our podcast. Of course, I'm Pierre, and I've got my mate Keith over here from the US. And today we got a bit of an interesting topic that we want to discuss. After last week's a little bit of a Debbie the Downer topic that we were discussing. We discussed it over the week, and we said, look, let's have something that's just a little bit more on the up and up, a little bit lighter. And we came through and said, what is going to be our best topics to discuss? And it's stuff that we both love and stuff that we both enjoy. And of course, we're going to be discussing best movies, best actors, and maybe just a little bit of what we believe is the underrated people or overrated actors and underrated movies and stuff like that. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing what Keith's got to say, because he does have quite a few interesting things up his sleeve. I'm sure of it. So Keith, take off, man.
All right, man. So I think we're going to go ahead and start with the movies. My favorite films of all time. I'll say a bit about each one and why, and then we'll go from there. So I will start at number 3. A beautiful piece of Southern storytelling filmed right in the state just northeast of me, Arkansas, home of Bill and Hillary Clinton. But Billy Bob Thornton wrote, starred, and directed. The movie is called Sling Blade. It is the story of a mentally disturbed man who killed some people, gets out of a mental hospital, goes back to the town where he's from, and befriends a young boy whose mother is going through a very abusive relationship, and the connections he makes in this small town. And it's just a very beautiful piece of Southern style storytelling. And since I live, Dallas isn't technically the South, but like in that region of the country, I think it's a very beautiful movie. My second choice I have gone with is a Chicano culture classic made right around 1990, originally called Bound by Honor. It was later released as Blood In, Blood Out. It is a story of a Chicano family, 2 half-brothers and a cousin, and life growing up in East Los Angeles through the 60s, 70s, and the paths that their lives take. One battles his demons through drug addiction. One becomes a police officer trying to better his community. And the other learns the hard world of prison politics in San Quentin Prison, California, where he rises to the top of a Mexican gang in prison while trying to find his inner Chicano faith. It's a classic. It's a very long movie. It's like 3.5 hours long. And then my number one ultimate favorite film, and it would also be probably one of my favorite books of all time, would be The Shawshank Redemption. If you haven't seen that, tell me what rock you live under, because it's kind of one of those movies that everyone has seen. It is the story of 2 friends serving extremely long sentences in a prison in Maine in the Northeast here in the U.S. And it's I don't know if you'll be able to see it too well, but I have Hope down my forearm here. That's because of that movie. And this was my first tattoo. This was my very first one. And I inspired it was Hope, because that's really the underlying factor in all of that film. So those are my 3 favorites. I'm pretty sure, I think all 3 are actually considered classics by the American Film Institute. So those are my 3. Now, Pierre, I think you go a little bit different of a direction with yours, but they're still classics. So I want to let everybody know what Pierre Fisser thinks are the 3 greatest films ever made.
All right. So, well, to be honest, I think there's a lot of people in my circles that would have probably thought that some of these movies are probably in their top 3. Maybe not my number 3 pick, though, because I don't think a lot of people know that movie. It was starring, my number 3 movie was starring Brad Pitt when he was still a little bit younger. It's really a story of 3 brothers that really go to war, and one brother actually dies in the war. The other 2 comes back, and they fall in love with the same woman. And the one brother is a little bit of a wild bear, I would say, not really fitting into the lifestyle of being like stuck in one place. So he likes to travel the world and be a bit more wild. And he eventually comes back and falls in love with another lady who was actually, when he left, was still a child, Indian lady in itself. And that's a movie called Legends of the Fall. So for me, that was one of those era timepiece type movies, which was very interesting to me. It was actually also a pretty long movie, and I think probably one of Brad Pitt's best acting chops in that specific role. My other two movies, I think, are a little bit more, what's the word I can use? Something that people would be able to guess, right? So my number two movie is Gladiator, starring the great Russell Crowe, one of the best movies I've ever seen. And I do watch a lot of reactions on YouTube to that specific movie. And I must be honest, a lot of people cry in the end, right? So that shows that there's a lot of heart in this movie and a lot of deeper meaning in that specific movie as well. And my number one pick movie is a movie which I think is true and dear to all the Scottish people out there, and that's a movie called Braveheart, starring Mel Gibson, of course, a period piece as well of William Wallace, was one of the great warriors leading their country at first to a lot of victories against the British, trying to get independence. So yeah, that was to me the three movies I would say probably some of the best made movies in my generation anyway. So yeah, that's my opinion.
I think the interesting thing about your choices were they were all three essentially period pieces of a certain time in history that no longer exists. And I think especially with Braveheart, I think I enjoyed that movie just because I am open about it. I am not the biggest unionist. I'm not pro-Britain really in anything. So for me, it was like enjoyable to see the English really just getting taken over by these brutish Scotsmen. And I mean, like I said, I've never had any issues with Scottish people. I think they're great people. I still think it's really odd when I think about Mel Gibson because he started out making Australian films. He had an Aussie accent for like the longest time, although he was born in the United States, but he grew up in Australia. And
the original Mad Max, after all.
Obviously, yeah, we all know this. And I think that was kind of the interesting thing about your picks, Pierre, was just that I noticed they were all period pieces, and they're about, honestly, not just strong men, but strong men who have emotion as well.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, Maximus in Gladiator is driven by vengeance to get back the family that was taken from him. And also, cannot go without saying German heavyweight Ralph Moeller playing in Gladiator as well. He's a particular German actor I'm very fond of. But you had great picks in my opinion, man.
He was also in that movie Best of the Best, right? He was the bad guy that owned the Colosseum.
Part 2, sir. Part 2.
Yeah, part two. Yes.
With Wayne Newton as like you saw that?
Of course I did.
That's like one of the worst B movies ever made, and it's great. I love it. Yeah. Oh, right.
I love it. Look, man. When you're growing up as a child, and you always like everything karate and kickboxing, and it's one of those staple movies that everybody has watched. In my opinion, I don't know any man that can call himself a man that hasn't actually watched that movie at some point in time in his life, especially when you're a kid.
What about the Van Damme classic Bloodsport? How popular is that there?
Look, Van Damme was very popular in South Africa. In fact, I remember watching quite a number of his movies growing up. So, and of course, Bloodsport was one of them. Yes.
Here's a bit of trivia you do not know about the sport. If you go back and watch it, there's a gentleman that makes it to the semifinal who's a Muay Thai fighter. He's a Muay Thai style fighter. That actor
He's a South African, right?
Yeah, Paulo Tocha. He is a South African-born guy. I have talked to him on social media. I will leave the South African flag in comments. He always gives it a big thumbs up. He is very proudly. I think he's of Mozambique blood, though. He's Portuguese, but he grew up, and if you ever hear him in interviews, he's been out of South Africa for 30-plus years. He still sounds South African when he talks. It's just obvious that this is the only place this guy can be from. So with that, we'll kind of flip it back around this time. You have chosen some of your best actors. I have chosen mine.
Yes.
Let's hear yours first, man. Let's hear what your best actors, in your opinion, are.
Okay, so two of the best actors actually acted in the same movie, which I believe is one of the best movies, which is Gladiator. Funny enough. And the one is Joachim Phoenix, the other is Russell Crowe, right? And I do believe that those two guys have quite a wide range in terms of their acting ability. I've seen Russell Crowe from drama to thriller to dramatic pieces, like I said, time pieces. He's acted it all. Joachim Phoenix, of course, he's such a versatile player. We've all seen him in Joker. We've all seen him in Walk the Line. We've all seen him in this movie, Gladiator. He just always throws himself into every role. I believe that those two are two of the best actors. And then, of course, I've got two more, in fact, which none of them are my favorite, right? This is the funny thing, right? My favorite actor is not who I consider the best actor, but he's just one of those. I'll come to him last, right? So the next two people, and the reason why I've got four, and I know we said we need to keep it to three, but I really couldn't find anything to distinguish this group of people, because I really just think that all four of them are just equally good for different reasons, right? So the one of the people that I'm mentioning went through a horrid divorce, which was televised everywhere in the world, and had to scoop poop off his flippin' pillow, and that is none other than Johnny Depp, right? So now that guy, when I see him in interviews, he seems like such a boring oak. I don't know what it is. Like, he's so deep, but he's got like this weird sense of humor, I guess, is the word I want to say. But when he gets into his acting roles, right? Yes, this guy, he just knows how to live every role. I mean, everybody knows this guy can play a good role. But the last guy that I wanted to mention, and this guy's really specifically good to me, and that's a guy by the name of Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy, he has acted in so many series, so many movies. There were series that I didn't even know he acted in, and then later on when I rewatch it, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even recognize him when I watched it initially. Stuff like, for instance, Band of Brothers, right? Probably one of my most favorite series to ever exist. That's about the Second World War, and he was actually in that. I didn't even know that when I initially watched it, and it was out at around about the 2001, 2002, around that period, right? So, but yeah, those are really my favorite, which I think the best actors. But my favorite actor, Mark Wahlberg. Mark fucking Wahlberg. He went from a model, became a rapper, then became a flippin' movie star. He can act as a comedian. I've seen him in thrillers. I've seen him in action. I've seen him in every type of role that this guy could play. All right. It's just his range is massive. But I just think as a person, I can relate to him. Okay. Because he is one of those guys that don't take no shit from Hollywood and their mobs that they can sort of create sometimes. He calls a spade, and us South Africans, we appreciate that quite a lot.
He, unfortunately, in the U.S., he has a bit of a controversial past that's kind of arisen, but I do agree. He has. Do you remember the first movie he ever was in?
To be honest, I don't know in what order his movies came out, but I know a lot of movies when he was young that I watched.
He did a movie with Reese Witherspoon about an obsessive abuse of a boyfriend. Fear, yes. I saw this in theaters. Yes. I was a teenager. That was a big one. And then he was in one of my favorite movies that didn't make my list, but The Basketball Diaries, about the poet Jim Carroll, about he was a junkie, drug addict. You're right. I mean, Mark Wahlberg has kind of done everything. He was a 70s porno star in Boogie Nights. He played a really bad hair metal lead singer in Rockstar. He's kind of done everything and anything. And now as he's gotten older, he's kind of segued into more of like the dad roles in movies and stuff like that. And that's good for him. I mean, he's definitely I mean, I don't know if you know his background. I mean, he grew up as just a poor Irish Catholic in Boston. I mean, like his childhood, his dad was a really bad drinker, and he didn't have the best childhood. Obviously, the rap music, his brother's success with a boy band. I mean, he's done a lot for himself. I will tell you this. If you come and visit Pierre, don't go to his restaurant. The Wahlburgers burgers are not that good. But yeah, I think those are all great picks. I will give mine. Mine is only 3. I could have gone longer, but I just wanted to kind of keep it short. I think it's funny that 2 of them are known for making like Italian gangster movies, and that would be Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. I think that just goes without saying. I love those Martin Scorsese films, that kind of thing. And then a gentleman that, in my opinion, we've seen Madiba played by so many actors. You know, Glover, we've seen Idris Elba play him. But I think, honestly, for me, the accent wasn't perfect, but I thought Morgan Freeman did Madiba right. That's just my personal opinion. And he's been in so many movies, and if I could have anybody read me bedtime stories to put me to sleep, it would be Morgan Freeman. Just because I've seen him in so many movies. I mean, he's been an actor for 40 years, and I've seen him play everything from a pimp to a drug dealer to a school principal to, you know, his range is obviously, but it's also what happens when you've been doing this for so long.
Look, man, you can't go wrong when you choose a guy that played God.
Exactly. Bruce Almighty. Yeah, I mean, exactly. And also, outside of that, kind of the same thing with Mark Wahlberg. He just doesn't take shit from people either. Like, he calls it like it is. Denzel Washington, the same thing. They don't buy into this left-right crap. They just like, look, this is dividing us. Fuck all that. It is what it is. Yeah. So now we will switch back to me going first and then you to going first. We will go with people that we believe are overrated actors or actresses. I have picked 2, and I'll explain why with both of them. First, we're going to go with Brad Pitt. I don't think he's done some really bad stuff. He's done some really great stuff too, but he's done some really bad stuff. His accents are horrible, in my opinion. Even in the movie Snatch, where he played I don't know if this is a PC word, but we'll just say traveler. They call them pikeys, but
basically gypsies.
Yeah, I couldn't buy it. And I think the messed up part is everybody knows the state that's north of Texas is Oklahoma. My ties to that state. My fiance is an Okie. Brad Pitt is an Okie. And I just think that like they put him up on such a pedestal to like, I feel like if they don't, he hits it. If they do, he doesn't. Yeah. And then funny enough, an ex of his, and I just have to mention the first time I saw this woman in a movie, I couldn't recognize her because she had gotten a nose job after she did the movie. She was on a long-running TV series here, which I never watched. I was never a fan of the show Friends. They put her up as like a sex symbol. She did a movie called We Are the Millers, where she's in her 50s and they have her playing a stripper. Like, stop. You're in your 50s. There's nobody buying that's a stripper. That's Jennifer Aniston. I just don't think she's a very good actress. I think they use her for eye candy, and I don't even particularly think she's that good of eye candy either. I've never thought she was attractive. I never thought that she was a good-looking person. I don't think she's ugly, but but that's also just a personal taste thing. That's just not my type.
Yeah.
So yeah, they put her up as like a sex symbol, all these kind of things, and I've just never bought it. I've never been like, okay, yeah, that works. So those are my two overrated. Now, you're overrated actors, sir. You are offending a man that calls America home by having one of these gentlemen, sir. This man is a patriot and should be respected and loved worldwide. But go ahead and let's hear your overrated actors list, sir.
Yeah, no, I was just laughing too much there, but I knew that your American listeners will take massive offense to this. But to be honest, when I was a child, I watched some of his stuff, right? The President's Man, Walker, Texas Ranger. But this guy's name, it really went beyond himself, right? Like this man became something completely different. And it's evident in all the jokes that's flying around all the time. Like every day, there's new shit being thought out just to be covering this guy's name, right? And that is the man, the legend, Chuck Norris. To be honest, he wasn't that great an actor whatsoever. He had no real emotion. But to be honest, okay, you didn't watch him for that. You watched him for his karate moves, okay? That's what you wanted to see, okay? So that's the one. The other one, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all right? Now, the reason why I got this guy on there, all right, and Bill Burr, he mentions this, right? This guy's a great man, don't get me wrong. But his ability, his acting ability as an actor is absolute trash, okay? Nobody can understand what the hell he's saying. Like, it's just, he's not a good actor, okay? Great man, don't get me wrong, but trash actor, okay? And then my last person that I believe is overrated, and this is purely because I fucking hate her with a passion, all right? And purely because she pretends to speak for us South Africans, okay? And that's a lady by the name Charlize Theron.
Will you explain to the American listeners what happened with her? I mean, I know what was said, but explain to American listeners what was said and why she's getting this reputation amongst Afrikaans speakers.
All right. So number one, right? If you are out of your country for 20 years, okay, and you only read the newspapers, especially the American newspapers, which is all a lot of fucking hooey, all right? And we all know that, okay? It's paid for by the biggest corporations to put on there what they want to put on there, right? If you're outside of the country, only having access to like shit newspapers like that, right? Then you want to come and give your public opinion in a flippant interview format where everybody's going to hear it and say that Afrikaans population is a dying population in the sense of Afrikaans is dying. Now, I have to tell you something, right? The Afrikaans people are not dying, okay, number one. Number two, the Afrikaans people, she might have said the language is dying, but you have to understand that Afrikaans is our culture. It's what we are. It's in us. It's in our blood. It's who we are. You cannot separate the one from the next, right? So the fact that she said that there's only 44 of us left, right, is fucking beyond me because there are millions of us, all right? Millions of us speaking Afrikaans in this language, in this country, okay? So the fact that she can still imagine that she's South African by any way or form, okay, she must just remember she is now an American citizen. Stay there. We don't want you back, okay? You are not from us anymore.
I've tried to explain that. I'm glad you did. Yeah. What she said was deeply offensive, and I agree with the ire that she's received from the public there. Just because I agree. There's not 44 people speaking Afrikaans. And that's the thing, too, is it's not just a language. It's a culture. And saying that there's only 40 people, that's like saying a culture and a people are dying. And it's totally untrue. It's totally untrue. And yeah, 100% agree on that one, man. I do agree. She's done some great movies, but when you say something like that about not just a language but a people, it is pretty insensitive. So
Yeah. But I
now
guess it's my turn again.
yeah,
Eh? I
yeah.
guess it's my time again because I think I want to put on underrated movies. Movies that should have had quite a bit bigger following, in my opinion. And one of my favorite actors acts in both the movies. I only selected two, right? I couldn't think of another one. But the same actor acts in both those movies, and that's the man, Tom Hardy. Okay? The one movie, Legend, where he plays two brothers in the UK in
The
the
Cray brothers.
1960s.
Yeah,
Yes, 100%. What a good role he played in there. It was like to watch him do it is just insane, right? And then the other movie, and this is the movie, like, look, I'm not a very emotional person, right? But this movie, the one I'm about to mention, almost had me cry. Okay? Me, the man that never cries, all right? I almost cried at the end of the movie called Warrior. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I don't believe I have, man.
Okay, so basically, it's about two brothers. It's the one obviously being Tom Hardy, the other being, I believe the guy's name is Joel Edgerton or something like that. I'm not sure how you pronounce his surname. All right, but two brothers. The one has got a family. The other one was in the army. They really drifted apart when they were kids, and because the father was an alcoholic, so the mother left, and she took the one brother with, and so they grew up very angry at each other. The two brothers, because the one brother felt that the other one left him behind, and I don't know what all right. So anyway, so it's actually a movie about ultimate fighting, right? Cage fighting.
Okay.
So eventually they both go into this competition, both trying to win money. The one is trying to win the money for his family in the military when some of his members died. He's like what he considered his brother died, and he wanted to give it to her family, to his family. The other one, obviously, the brother with the children and family. One, they were about to lose their house, and he's trying. But anyway, so that's just the premise. But these guys really, at the end of the movie, they really like console their differences, but like in the middle of the fight, and it was just a very emotional fight scene. I must be honest. So, a very good movie. I believe 9.5 out of 10. Okay, that's how much I would rate that movie.
Okay. I'll have to check that one out. I'll see if it's on Netflix locally. My underrated films that I went with, and I have 3 on here, but I'm going to go ahead and take one of them off because it's not underrated. It's a film. Raging Bull is a classic. It's not underrated. I think a lot of people don't want to see it because it's in black and white. But I have gone with a movie starring one of your overrated actors. To me, it is the penultimate action film from the year 1985. I mean, it was him at his peak. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger, Commando, a gentleman whose daughter is killed or is kidnapped, and he has to kill everyone to get her back. And it's over the top. The acting is horrible. Everything. It's not believable to have somebody ripped and buffed like Arnold Schwarzenegger going up against a fat, out of shape Aussie. And the actor Vernon Wells, he was also in Mad Max. He was one of the biker guys. But it's a movie that I have a little bit of a funny story. When I was in school in Oklahoma, me and a mate of mine, we would rent this movie back and forth from the same video store. And we were friends with the guy that owned the video store, so he showed us the rental history. We were the only 2 people that rented this movie for a year. And it was either him or either me. Either him or either me. And when I left town, I was given a copy of that movie in the rental box. I still have it. And even when it would come on TV, we would call each other and be like, the bad guy, Bennett's up to his old tricks. The movie's so bad, it's good. And another movie so bad.
I actually watched it.
The shed scene is a classic, sir. But or where he's holding the guy over the ledge. And remember when I told you I'd kill you last? I lied and let him go. You can see the rope. If you go back and watch it, you can see the rope attached to the guy's leg. Another movie that's so bad, it's like a train wreck. It's like a car crash when you drive back. We call it rubbernecking here in America. whenever I see it on, I have to watch it because it's so bad, but it's so bad, it's bad, and it's so bad, it's bad, it's bad, but it's kind of good. And that would be the Scientology-inspired film Battlefield Earth, starring John Travolta, Forrest Whitaker, all these other actors. The movie is fucking horrible. The camera work, the acting, it's fucking horrible. But I have to watch it every time I see it. I have to sit down and force myself to watch how bad this movie is. And I think everyone should at least be made to watch this film at least once so they could know how bad Hollywood is. Because there was somebody that told John Travolta, this is a good film to make and you should be in it. Whoever that person is should never be allowed in Hollywood ever again. But unfortunately, they are Hollywood.
I enjoyed that movie when it came out, right? Because really, I was a sci-fi kid. Like, I enjoyed sci-fi movies. I'm a massive Star Wars fan till today. My back screen or wallpaper on my phone is a picture of Darth Vader. Okay, my cover is Darth Vader. All right. So I mean, at the end of the day, I enjoy sci-fi movies, right? And I enjoyed that movie when it came out. But then years later, I rewatched it, and what the fuck was I thinking? It's so trash. It's such a shit movie. But I hear what you're saying. Like I'm pretty sure it's got pretty much of a cult following as well. But I would say overrated movies. I want to hear your overrated movies, man.
I didn't mention any in particular, but I guess I could go ahead and mention a few that come to mind, and I can't even think of the name now. This really, really expensive one that James Cameron did, the $1 billion movies. What is that crap called? With the blue Avatar. So, like, look, I don't know if you're a fisherman or you've ever been a fisherman. I never have. I'm not going to lie. I've tried fishing once in my life, but I know that fish are attracted to bright and shiny things. I am not a fish. If you have to overly CGI your film, I am not interested in watching it. I don't even like the animation that they do these days. I prefer the old animation where they actually had to do everything by hand. Now it's all done on computers. Now I can say, oh, you're just an old fogey and you don't understand. Yeah, you're right. I am an old fogey and I don't enjoy new animation. But like that Avatar series, for one, I preferred the story when it was called Dances with Wolves with Kevin Costner because it's the same exact story, just with a bunch of CGI. So that's, I don't like overrated movies. Anything that's overly CGI'd is overrated to me because that means they used computers to make the film look interesting. That's just me. So what about you?
On mine. I've got you on mine, and I'm about to piss off a lot of people, right? And mostly probably female gender people as well. With my very first pick, Titanic.
I don't think you're pissing off anybody with that, man.
Look,
I didn't like it
I've heard, like all the women, they love this romantic movie.
Yeah, of course.
Look, he could have fitted on that fucking door. Okay, end of the point. Okay, end of the story. I don't give a fuck. Okay, so anyways, that's point number one, right? My next movie that I picked, Fast and the Furious. Look, okay. It just became ridiculous. You can choose anything from number 2 to number 55 because I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be to 55 one day, and they're all fucking trash. Okay, so it's just because they're trying to push the envelope so much more than what's necessary to make a good storyline. Okay, so that's my second one, and my third one has got an extreme cult following. Especially in the younger generation, probably more millennials or whatever the case might be, all right? But that is a movie that really pissed me off. Like, yes, I watched it the first time, okay, the first one, and then after that, it just became more and more ridiculous because let me set the scene, okay? This girl.
Oh, God, I know where you're going.
She's so depressed. Oh, my God, my life is so bad. I'm visiting my dad, and I fall in love with this guy that nobody can have, and he's so shiny, and oh my God, like just kill yourself already, all right? And I don't condone any form of self-harm, but in the movies, okay, it could have ended after number one, okay, and that's a movie called Twilight. All right, the whole series is trash. They could have scrapped it, and I wouldn't even have batted an eyelash. I would have never even realized any difference.
So I think with the age I am, every generation kind of has their vampire movies that they do. And I'd say with our generation, we kind of got two of them. We got Blade, which I thought was great. The first one, the second, third were rubbish. But for me, I think of Anne Rice novels, like Interview with the Vampire. And when people would bring up
that's one I remember.
Yeah, when I bring up vampire movies and people would bring up Twilight, I'm like, yeah, I preferred it when it was called Anne Rice novels. I just thought those. I agree with you on Twilight. It was a cultural phenomenon. It was really, really big in this part of the world, and yeah, I agree. Those movies, I think they were really big with teeny boppers, is what it was. And for me, it kind of goes back to something, and I don't know if I've brought it up on the podcast. If you want to sound intelligent in movies in this country, speak with an accent. Robert Pattinson has sort of an accent, so automatically he's attractive and he's intelligent. And it's like he's neither of those things. Although he has made some movies since that he did a David Cronenberg movie that was pretty good. But like, he
didn't do a bad job in Batman, eh? He didn't do a bad job in Batman.
I don't buy it, man. I don't buy it, dude.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. I expected much worse. Let me put it to you.
So,
okay,
when I
because
think
of it being him, I expected worse.
It's not on the list, but who's your favorite Batman?
Michael Keaton.
Thank you. Followed by
Christian Bale.
Thank you. It's all. It's Keaton, Bale, Adam West, the original, and then everybody else. Val Kilmer and George Clooney were the absolute worst in my opinion.
Oh, they were so bad. And Arnold Schwarzenegger acted in the one with I think one of those two. All right, where he was like this Iceman or something. Oh my God!
He's Dr. Victor Freeze. He's trying to find the cure to McGregor syndrome to save his wife, sir.
It's trash, man.
Something I didn't tell you. I own every Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
I'm sure you do.
And they're all bad. But now we'll kind of flip back. We'll go to, oh man, this is where it's going to get heavy and weird at the same time.
Yeah.
But we're going to go to favorite records now. I will mention my three. You will mention your three, and I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about at that. Starting at number 3, I was a teenager when it came out. It was a very angry, very heavy record. I still identify with a lot of the themes of the record, and this would be Hartford, Connecticut's own Hate Breeds Satisfaction as the Death of Desire. It is 14 tracks. I think the total length is 26 minutes. Most of the songs are like a minute and a half, 2 minutes long at most. Very heavy, very fast, lots of heavy guitars, lots of yelling, all this stuff. A record that is a lot about family, friendships, community, and kind of like standing for something. I think for that genre of music, that would probably be the best record for the middle era of it. There's been like 3 eras. We're currently in the 3rd era, and it's really bad. But that would be my 3rd favorite. My 2nd favorite is a album relatively unknown. They only did one album as this band, and it was self-titled. It's called Videodrone. It is a record that's kind of all over the place. You mentioned Korn when you listen to it. It kind of has everything from nu metal to electronica to hip-hop to everything. It's a very, very weird record, and it's another one of those that came out when I was a teenager, and I just identified with it so well. If you ever Videodrone, it's just a weird band. And then my number 1 favorite, It also contains my favorite song of all time, Enjoy the Silence. This would be 1991's Violator from Depeche Mode. This band always comes around here right around my birthday. They were here just like a week ago in Dallas. I didn't go because the tickets were ridiculous, but it harkens me to being in like grade 2 or 3 and hearing a lot of it on the radio. So it kind of takes me back to a simpler time in my life when I only worried about what cereal I was going to have and what cartoons were coming on. Like, it was a simpler time in my life before girls became a thing. Yeah, I go back and they're just stuff that's like 3 things that like I go back to no matter what. And I mean, I could have made many, many more on the list, but I wanted to keep it short and sweet. So yeah. Now, Pierre, here is your chance. Let's hear what your 3 favorite. Actually, you know what? Go ahead and add your 4th. You should have all, because you wanted to take one off. Don't take it off. Keep 4, man. Do your 4.
All right. So I've got quite a wide range of bands, right? So it's a bit of a eclectic group of people from different times in my life, right? Where my second most favorite, okay, is probably the most current of these bunch of people, okay? But I would say in this order, okay, my favorite bands, number 4 or not bands, but albums rather. Number 4, Metallica Black. My very first metal album that I ever owned, probably that put me down this path of metal music in terms of my whole future. I think this, I was listening to this when I was about 14, something like that. Okay, when I really started getting into metal, and that was really the band that put me onto it, right? And back then I had a tape. I didn't have a vinyl record. I had a tape of it, and I fucking loved this band back then. Now, they're not so much prevalent. I do still listen to some of those songs now and then, but I don't go crack out the whole album every now and then anymore. But one of the best albums ever for me, still in my number 4 spot. My number 3 spot, a band from the 1970s. They probably managed to make music a total of 4 years together, all right, because they were apart and then back together, and then this happened, and then that happened. A band who I choose for the same reason I choose my number 1 band, and that was because of the type of passion that it invokes in me, right? The feeling that I want to sing with, and I just want to like let go. And that was a band by the name of Creedence Clearwater Revival, and their CD. I failed to remember what its name was, but it was the 20th anniversary CD, which has
it was Rejoice, right? I think it was the Rejoice album, is what it was.
I failed to remember now.
Yeah.
But it was their 20th anniversary disc compilation of all their best tracks. And John Fogerty, that man could sing. Let's be honest. That guy, everybody still sings when his music comes on. Till today, in South Africa anyways, I don't know how it is in the US, but in South Africa, everybody knows every little single song of those guys almost, right? Then my
That's
number
really
2
interesting.
band, yeah, no, a lot of South Africans love that band. But you know that South Africa do enjoy quite a lot of their older generation music, country music, a lot of those type of things. So anyways, my number 2 band or number 2 album is called King of Everything. And that's by a band called Ginger. Now, I've mentioned to you in previous podcasts or maybe just on calls. I mean, we speak so much, I can't remember when we discuss these things sometimes. But Ginger to me is everything I currently enjoy, right? They're a metal band who is really a little bit more progressive metal. So they enjoy putting all different types of genre into their music, from reggae to hip hop to everything. They've got a bit of everything. They're a 4-piece band, and really the lady's voice in itself is just mental, right? My wife knows that she is my celebrity crush, okay? If she comes to town one day and I have an opportunity, she is my whole pass. All right, so just know.
Oh, awesome, man. Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, that's Ginger. My number one band or number one album, I think you can also relate to, and probably if it wasn't in your top three, it's probably in your top 10, right? And that is an album called 10 by Pearl Jam.
I have an interesting story behind that. Yeah, go ahead.
Pearl Jam came out late 80s, early 90s. One of the four bands that started the whole grunge movement, all from Philadelphia, just like Nirvana and all the rest
Seattle.
of the guys.
Seattle.
No, Seattle. Sorry,
Yeah.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Why do I think Philadelphia? Anyways, from Seattle, they started the grunge movement, and this guy's music touched me in ways like in my life, right? For real. This guy's music ability, his vocals, his passion when he sings, just everything about this band. I love their music till today. I probably listen to his music once a week. I probably watch once a week to 3 people on YouTube react to his music. That's how much I enjoy Pearl Jam, right? They are some of they're my favorite band of all time. And the reasoning behind it, of course, is just the pure passion they had. And number 2, all right, the other reason why I believe so much in these guys is because they took it to the ticketing companies, right? They wanted music to be more accessible to the masses, all right? Not every band would do that because the more they charge the tickets, the more money you can make, right?
Yeah,
but these guys went against the grain, against the corporations. They wanted it to be for everybody, and that can be appreciated in a band.
This is my story behind this is 10 is the first cassette I ever picked out and bought. I was in grade 5, I believe, maybe grade 6, but interestingly enough, I've seen Eddie Vedder in the last few years. He did a ukulele tour. It was just him on stage by himself. And the rules of his live concerts are pretty bad. Like no cell phones. You can't record any of it, which is great because he wants you to experience the moment. But he also has professional people record it so you can go and watch it online or buy a copy of it later and whatever. And a great storyteller. Amazing stories when he was here in Dallas talking about the Dallas Cowboys memories, things that I don't really know about. But I don't think that's
the funny thing about it. The funny thing about it, right? He is probably one of the craziest vocalists to ever grace a stage when it comes to his stage dives from top of stuff and whatnot. And he is the only vocalist to still be alive from that genre that started the whole scenario, right?
Yeah,
everybody else died, but this guy's still alive, and he should have killed himself a long time ago with those jumps that he's done, you know?
Yeah.
And not once again, I'm not saying he should have. You understand my psyche, is that like if it was me jumping from that stage, I would have broken my neck. Okay?
Yeah.
But this oak managed to live through all of those live performances, okay, with all the crazy shit that he pulled, and he's still alive. This guy is an inspiration to all crazy motherfuckers out there, all right? Live your life, man. Live your life.
So something that didn't make it on the list because we're close in age, I think this is 2 questions I really wanted to ask that as we were doing this. So as gentlemen that were born during the vinyl record era, coming into the cassette era, into the CD era, having Betamax, VHS, then DVD, can you remember the first album you ever heard on compact disc formats? Or maybe the first album you ever bought on compact disc format?
No, I cannot remember the first band, all right? But I can remember the first CD I listened to, all right?
What was it?
And that was dance music by chance, all right? It was like back in the day, it's like we had these CDs that was like what was it called? No, that's what I call music.
We have that here. We have that
right?
here.
So,
So
it was something to that effect, right? And The first one I can remember had those songs on 2 times. You know, that music. Like that era of music is what I'm trying to say. I'm not too sure if it was that exact song, but I mean, like it was around that time. But I remember the last tape deck I listened to. All right, the last tape that I listened to.
What was the last tape you?
Bon Jovi.
Wow. I know it hasn't made it back there yet, but tapes have come back here in America. People are putting stuff back out on tape again. My first CD I ever bought, like actual in compact disc format, was the debut record from a band from Germany. And that band is Rammstein. It was their Herzeleid first record. That was the first CD I ever bought. First CD I ever bought and listened to. Now we'll switch over. Do you remember the first movie you ever watched in DVD format?
Jeez, now you're asking me a question. I remember one of the last movies I watched in video.
on VHS format?
Yeah, but I can't remember on DVD, man. Like, geez, I'm trying to remember.
Because I know
DVD.
mine. Yeah.
I don't think. Look, we were never really big into DVDs. But
really?
We started. Yeah, look, I mean, we were very old school. We were still rocking the video cassette players when everybody else had DVDs. We were poor, man. So, so to be honest, I can't remember the first movie that I ever really properly watched on DVD. I think it was. God, I can't even tell you. I can't even take a stab in the dark. I kind of like it.
So my very first movie I ever watched in DVD format, I can tell you the first two because I watched them one after another, was the Adam Sandler dud, Little Nicky. That was the first DVD I ever watched, followed by a classic starring Edward Norton about a racist movie called American History X. These were the first two DVDs I ever watched. I, like you, I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I didn't get my own DVD player until I was like 21, 22 years old. We didn't have a computer in my house growing up. We were poor, you know, and that's why I had cassettes. And I didn't get my first CD player until I was like halfway through high school. I didn't get my first personal CD player until I was an adult. Like, it's not, like if poor is poor. Being poor sucks regardless of where you grow up and being poor. It's just kind of funny. I bring this up also because if you go to the local department stores, like Walmart obviously is the biggest one here, you can't buy CDs at Walmart, but you know what you can buy at Walmart? Vinyl records. Because the quality is amazing. I have a lot of vinyl. My fiance has quite a bit of vinyl as well. But it's funny how the oldest technology won. The oldest technology at the end of the day won. And score one for music lovers there. Man, this was an interesting one. Sure. It never got dark. And I think our last two that we done were very, very dark. Man. Jesus. Yeah.
It was definitely for sure an interesting one. It was an interesting one because also, you know, this way we get to know each other, right? I mean, we've become good friends, right? And that's why we do this thing together. Okay, because we got more in common than just talking rugby all the time, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's almost like you know, when you first get to know each other, it reminds me of that scene of, you know, the Step Brothers. I don't know if you've seen, like, what's your favorite dinosaur? Velociraptor. Did we just become best friends? That type of thing.
I thought you were going to mention I want to put my testicles on your drum kit. I thought you were going to mention that. That is a classic. The movie is horrible, but it's a classic. I mean, I'm sorry, Will Ferrell didn't make anyone laugh. Something I did want to bring up at the end of this, though, was something that, like, I noticed immediately, and outside of a certain person that was spoken in a negative light, we are two guys that absolutely talk about South African everything all the time. there is not a single South African film or band on our list. And I have to say, people here want to ask why. And I have to explain to them that, like, look, I can't speak for all of South African culture, but I can speak for Afrikaner culture as a whole. The music is not, it's a lot of upbeat, very bouncy, dancey music, and I'm just not that person. Like, I enjoy it. Now, not to sit here and say, like, I'm not going to say Kurt Darren is one of my favorite singers. No, that's crap. It's horrible, but I listen to it. Snot Comp, these guys, Robbie Vessels, all these guys. It's not anything that I would go out of my way to listen to it. But if it comes on and I'm driving in my car, I don't necessarily press next every time. Like, it is, there are things about it. And there are South African actors outside of Charlize Theron. We've got somebody up and comer, really. He's an older guy, but and that would be Charlko Copley. He's an amazing actor, South African, 100%. But not everybody knows who that is. Now, I could say I like Arnold Vosloo, the actor, but if I tell anybody that, they're going to be like, who's that? I'm like, you remember The Mummy with Brendan Fraser? And I'm like, yeah, he was the Mummy. Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a household name here. And it's sad because, like, we think of the contributions that South Africa has given the world, and it's like, but America, for all of its problems, our pop culture is overwhelmingly big.
100%.
If you're listening,
it's an industry, right? It's an industry.
Yeah.
It's the finances that's behind it that can sustain proper growth in that type of industry. So for me, just when I say I can only speak for myself, right? I can't speak for other people. But what I can say is that Afrikaans music in South Africa is very big, right? And I have to tell you, I also enjoy Afrikaans music. Okay,
of course.
Even though I'm a metal guy, okay, first and foremost, but I also enjoy my culture, right? I mean, I'll give you a perfect idea, right? Look at the shirt. It says here, my bloed is khaki, gebore in the RSA in the bottom, right? Which for your American people, it means my blood's color is khaki, all right? Because everybody know Afrikaans people, we like khakis, okay? Because we live in fucking Africa, okay? And then it says here, gebore in the RSA, which means born in the Republic of South Africa, okay? So that's how proud we are as a nation, right? Of our heritage, okay? But
and then I'm sitting here wearing a shirt with South Africa on it as well. It's
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So it's really for me.
Yeah.
No, sorry, go for it.
No, go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead, man. Sorry.
No, all I was going to say is that's just for me, like my circle of the amount of friends that I've got that listens to metal is very few and far between. Okay, I know like maybe two people in my whole group of friends, two people, right, that actually listen to metal music. So of course, metal guys need to stick together, right? The rest of the guys, they like very much mainstream stuff, Afrikaans stuff. A lot of the Afrikaans people, they like dancing a lot. So dancing is quite a prevalent thing in our culture. So that's why I guess personally, I wouldn't be choosing one of the Afrikaans vocalists or a band from here or a movie from here because it's not my interest. Okay, if you've asked the guys next door, they might tell you something different. They might choose in their top three. They might be two South Africans.
Yeah. And like I said, that's what I kind of brought it up for more than anything. It's not that we shun that or anything. It's just our personal interests. Because it's cultural, we know all about that, but our personal interests are outside of that. And I don't ever want any Afrikaner, if you listen to this, don't take it personally. I know I live in America, but it's in my blood. It's who I am as well. I have respect for it. It's just not necessarily like when me and Jess plan on visiting next year, one of my favorite things to do is to get in. We're going to get in a vehicle. We're going to drive through the countryside and we're going to listen to American country music and South African country music. Because they both are about hardworking, love, pride, respecting the land, respecting your family. I mean, they're good. It's good values in the music. And then occasionally it's just like, screw all that. Let's dance. You know what I mean? And it's good to have that kind of positivity as well. I think people don't.
Yeah.
I don't think people sometimes necessarily understand that aspect of South African culture, that it is a lot of positivity. There's a lot of positivity in the Afrikaner people. It's a hardworking, backbreaking, but no disrespect. I didn't leave any South Africans off because I don't like that. No, it's just my personal interests are outside of that. And you agree.
Yeah,
so,
same here.
But with that being said, man, we've got a rugby game I think we're both going to watch just to see what happens. Did it get any cooler there yet? Because I know you said yesterday or the day before it was like 42 in Pretoria.
Yeah, it's still, we're dying of the heat. It's hot as hell.
Is the temperature just going to continue to climb as you go into the spring, I guess? It's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter.
I don't think it's really going to get much hotter than this. I think it's just a hot, like a
heat wave.
What do you call it? Yeah, heat wave. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. I think it's just a heat wave, and then we'll be over it. We'll be fine again. But it's flipping hot.
Yeah, I have a mate in Pretoria who was braaiing earlier with his shirt off, like out at the braai, cooking up, no shirt on, beer in his hand. He's got his is it Plockies or Courtbrook? The shoes. Or those are both the same thing, right? Plockies are the shoes. Courtbrook is shorts, right? Courtbrook.
This is a Plockie. This is a Plockie. And then a Courtbrook, that's shorts. Yeah.
It's shorts. He had his Courtbrook and Plockies on. He's at the braai. He's got a beer in his hand. He's just cooking up. And I'm like, out at the dog park, it's like 12 degrees here. My dog's going crazy because we're at the dog park. But it's been great. We're going to continue to do this. This has actually become like my favorite thing to do outside of my rugby videos. Yeah, because it's just a chance to talk to somebody from the other side of the planet. So do you have anything else to add, Pierre?
No, man. I'm just once again thankful for everybody that's been supporting us on our journey, man. And I really hope they remain true. And of course, I wish them all the blessings in the world. And let's hope we can continue. Let's hope we can continue to grow this thing so that we can continue to bring content to those that might find us interesting. I mean, I find us interesting. Some other people might as well. So let's hope we can continue to do so.
Definitely, man. But with that being said, I say cheers. Cheers. You would say, how do you say it?
We say cheers as well, bro.
Was there another one? Was it like Totsiens? No, that
Totsiens.
Totsiens
is Totsiens is a word, but
nobody uses that.
I don't use it. No, I don't use that.
If you learn Afrikaans off of a program here or a book, they'll tell you that's how you say goodbye. I've never heard an Afrikaner say Totsiens.
Yeah, no, we look. I mean, if you go to like places like Bloemfontein or like somewhere like more farming communities and stuff like that, those guys still speak quality Afrikaans, and in that regard, they would probably tell you Totsiens. So,
all right, man. Well, we'll talk to you guys all again soon. Cheers, everyone.
Okay. Cheers, everyone. Ciao.